Hey there, I want to welcome you to another Rise of the 1% podcast episode where you're going to discover the tools, the strategies, the insights to dominate and get into the top 1% of your industry. I am GBass. And in today's Rise of the 1% podcast episode, I'm actually going to share with you my journey, my story, how I got into entrepreneurship and business, and how I've gotten to where I'm at today. And one of the reasons why I decided to do this episode is because, yes, I've been interviewed on other people's podcasts over the years, and I have went into my journey and my story in terms of entrepreneurship and business. In this episode, though, I'm going to go a lot more deeper. I'm going to share some stuff in this episode that I haven't even shared in any other interviews that I've done with other people on their platforms. And so with that said, what I want to do is I want to start from the beginning. So if you don't necessarily know a little bit about my story, I actually was raised in Decatur, Georgia. I know these days everybody say they from Atlanta. From Atlanta. Well, I was born in Atlanta. Okay, I was raised in Decatur, Georgia, and I actually grew up off of a street called Glenwood Road in Decatur, Georgia. And in terms of my upbringing, I would say this. I was raised primarily in a two-parent household till around about high school or so. That's when I went to more of a single-parent household for a while. And to this day, my parents are together. Outside of that, though, growing up in Decatur, I actually met a guy when I was actually in elementary school, and his name was Rara. That's what we called him. We actually met in first grade, by the way, and we went to elementary school together for some years because actually how we even became even more tighter as well is because his grandma actually stayed around the corner from my parents' house. So we went to school together. We stayed around the same neighborhood. And so we became friends. We used to spend the night at each other's houses. We used to go to a skating rink called Golden Glide in Decatur on the weekends. Everybody get fly. Go to the skating rink. We even traveled together. Rara actually went on a vacation with me and my family one year. So we was real tight. I knew a lot of his family, he knew a lot of my family. We was just like family. And so pretty much around about 8th grade or so, we actually went to high school at that time. High school started at 8th grade. So when we went to high school, we actually started to play around with music. Now, I actually got into the band when I went to high school. So I got into marching band as soon as I went into high school. Outside of being in the marching band, though, me and Rara and one of my other buddies named Zay, we used to have these tape recorders, and we would play these beats. We would record ourselves rapping over these beats. And over some time, I'll say around about 9th grade or so, which was like the next year, we got out of just recording on tape recorders and recording over beats with that, and we actually started going to a studio. It was a guy who actually had a studio actually in Rara's grandma neighborhood. His name was Big Brian. So Rara at that time, he would actually start missing out on school and just really spending a lot of time in the studio. And at times, he would attempt to get me to skip a class or two as well and go to the studio with him. And it wasn't just him. It was also my boy Zay, and it was some other guys, too, who grew up around the way with us. And I actually, one time, decided to do it. And one of my homeboys, Bree, his mom actually saw me like literally walking towards the studio during school hours. And so I ended up hopping in the car with her because she actually said, hey, you want to ride? And this is in the middle of the school day. She took me to the studio, dropped me off, and then she literally called my mom and told my mom I was missing school to go to the studio. And my mom came home literally that night and went off on me. Went off on me. And said she was going to start now calling up to the school to make sure I was actually there. So I ended up not going back to Big Brian's house at that time. But what ended up happening was we ended up actually setting the studio up at my parents' house. This is in high school, by the way. And we formed this crew called MPG. So I know you may see me now today and you see my transformation of personal growth, mindset different, and the way I approach life is different. And I'm not glorifying any of that type stuff in today's time. But that was the name of our crew at that time. We was in high school. We was teenagers. And so we used to make music at my parents' house, primarily when school was over. And so we did that for a while. And while I was in high school as well, my guy named Duran, who I actually been knowing since third grade, me and him were in a band together at Columbia. High school. That's what we went to high school at. And pretty much we played in the marching band, we played in concert band and jazz band. So Duran had a pretty huge background in music himself. He actually had been playing drum sets since he was like a little kid in terms of the church. So me and Duran actually started coming together as well and rapping over beats together. And Duran actually got into making beats himself because, of course, like I said, he had a background in playing drum sets since a little kid, even though I played in the drum section, percussion section as well in high school. And Duran is actually the one who got me into it, by the way. He had been doing it way longer than me. So he used to make beats and we would rap over them on tape recorders. We wasn't necessarily in our studio at that time because Duran didn't necessarily know how to work the studio stuff at that time. And so pretty much what ended up happening was me and Duran formed this group called ATL Hard Hitters. I still was with MPG at the time as well. We also just started our own duo. And then I ended up meeting at the time a guy named Mike, who actually went to high school as well with us. And he actually was good at making beats and he could rap as well. So me, him, and Duran actually started doing some music together. And they both actually did start to learn how to use the studio equipment as well. And so we started making music together. So now Mike was a part of the ATL Hard Hitters. So we had the ATL Hard Hitters, and I as well was with MPG at the same time. And like I said, this is why we're in high school. Now, what ended up happening while we was in high school, a lot of the guys that was in MPG with us, because there was a lot of us in it, a lot of guys that was in it started turning to the streets, started getting locked up, all that type of stuff. Now, me, the type of household I grew up in, that's definitely unacceptable. No matter if I'm coming up around certain people doing whatever, that was just unacceptable. So I really started to focus a lot more in on ATL Hard Hitters. I still was with the MP Clique is what we eventually started to call it, the MP Clique, and then we turned it to MP Entertainment later on. I still was affiliated. I was just going a lot harder with ATL Hard Hitters because of the fact I just felt it was a lot of positive on our side compared to, like I say, getting heavily involved in the streets and getting locked up and dropping out of high school, which a lot of that was going on the other side in terms of the MP side. So that's what ended up pretty much happening throughout most of high school. And so while I was in high school as well, Duran actually used to date a female. And the female that he dated, her nephew kind of looked up to myself and Duran at the time. His name was Cruz. That was his name. And so he would hang with me and Duran at times and also just hang with me at times. And so he saw what I was doing with the music and he said he could rap. So he started to actually show me his skills that he could rap. And he eventually ended up starting to call himself Don K. That was his name. So I actually brought him as well into ATL Hard Hitters at the time. And so what ended up happening was I ended up graduating from high school. So did Mike, Duran. I would say this, Duran started to take less interest in actually doing like music in terms of the music business. And so it ended up being mostly like me and Mike, and also just starting to get Don K ready to rap. And so I ended up going to FAMU, which is Florida A&M University down in Tallahassee, Florida. And when I went, I actually joined the music program. I became part of the March 100, the greatest band, I would say, in the world. So I ended up joining the program. I was in the marching band. I was in a symphonic band, and I was part of the percussion ensemble. I also was a part of different organizations. I was fortunate enough to become president of an organization. And when I first got to FAM, I had got word that my guy Rara actually got signed to So Def Records, which is Jermaine Dupri's company. And he actually got signed for a song that he made called I'm Hot. And by the way, Rara's stage name was Jean Capone. And I'm Hot, Rara actually wrote that song at my mom and dad's kitchen table in our house. Because he used to record at my parents' house. That's where we had the studio set up before he took it to his grandma Dot's house later on. And then, of course, he started to record in the bigger studios once he got a deal. That's really how that went. So pretty much while I'm at FAM, my girlfriend at the time calls me and says, I'm Hot is on the radio. Like literally calls me like super excited about it because she remembered when Rara actually first made the song, and I actually had the song of I'm Hot when it wasn't even mixed and mastered. I had the copy, and I used to let my girlfriend at that time hear the record before Jermaine Dupri even got to it. So when it hit V103, which is a well-known radio station here in Georgia, they call it the People Station. Say once you make it to V103, you pretty much made it, especially when it comes to the state of Georgia. And so when she heard it and called me and was screaming on the phone, that got me pumped up as well. I was inspired by that. Matter of fact, I called Rara phone so many times, it kept going to voicemail because I know so many people was calling them because they had heard that the song had premiered on the radio and it was in rotation. So we was all proud. That inspired me though. So what ended up happening was when I would come home for the summer from FAMU, I would turn up hard on the music at that time in terms of going in the studio and recording records, to even doing shows. And what ended up happening while I was at FAM and coming home on those summers, we ended up adding some more people to ATL Hard Hitters as well. Like I would come home, I would still be with like the MP clique. I'd still even be going out to shows with Ra as well. He was with Jermaine Dupri now. He was doing big things. I'll still be going out with him to support him and what he had going on because really MP all jumped behind him. So I would just pull up and show up at shows, and I even go to studio sessions with them. So I was getting a lot of inspiration from still being around that whole environment and my people in that environment as well, which helped me with ATL Hard Hitters. That eventually became ATL Hard Hitter Squad. So what ended up happening while I was at FAM, and I would come home during those summers, we actually brought on some more people. One of the guys we brought on, his name was Sean, but we called him Tonio. Okay, because that was actually his middle name. And he actually went to FAMU with me, by the way. He was actually in the percussion and drum session with me at FAM. He actually went on to eventually become a drum major at FAM as well. He actually saw what I was doing and really wanted to be a part of it because he knew how to rap. So he wanted to be a part of what we was doing. So he joined the ATL Hard Hitter Squad. And then we had another guy as well ended up joining. His name was LB. He actually went to high school with me, played football, matter of fact, in high school. And he liked what we had going on and wanted to be a part of it. And he knew how to rap. So we brought him on board too. So yeah, the ATL Hard Hitter Squad, that's what we became, started to grow. And also my homie Bree, who I was telling his mom, actually called my mom because she saw me like out in the middle of the day. I was supposed to be in school and I was going to the studio. Bree, I actually grew up with Bree. I actually been knowing Bree since I was actually 4 years old. He was 6 years old. We grew up right across the street from each other. I know his whole family. He know my whole family. We traveled together as kids on spring break everywhere. Like, that's my brother. And so Bree actually came on board of the Hard Hitters as well to help out with pretty much the business side, like helping out with management, getting us shows, helping with marketing, promotions, that, and even my homie Juice as well, who grew up around the way with me too, grew up right around the corner from me. And I've been knowing Juice since like 5 years old. Me and Juice, you know, we played sports together growing up. We was in a band together in high school as well, all that type of stuff. So Juice pretty much came on board too. And actually was helping with the business side, management, getting us shows, marketing, promotions, all that type of stuff. That's pretty much what Bree and Juice was helping out with. And we called Bree Triple B at that time too, Trip B. That's what we called them. So Trip B and Juice. Okay. And so pretty much at this time, what we started to do was, like I said, I was still affiliated with MP and supporting Young Capone, which is Rah Rah. I was still doing that, like I said, when I came home for the summers. But what we also started to do, we started to throw this event every summer called Hard Hitters Day. All right, every summer, Hard Hitters Day. And what we did doing Hard Hitters Day is we would basically do a block party on the street that a lot of us grew up on, off Glenwood. We'll block the whole street off for a whole day. Our neighbors knew what was going on. They didn't really have much of a problem, as long as there weren't no problems out there. We would give away free food, free drinks, have stuff out there for the kids. And it was just a big day. We have a DJ out there playing music. We'll be giving away a lot of our CDs at that time, because giving out CDs, what was it was at that time. Now you can do a lot on the internet. At that time, we had to give out demos. So we have all these CDs pressed up, and we'll be giving them out at that Hard Hitters Day. And everybody would be having their cars out there. Guess what they was playing in their cars? Hard Hitters music. Yep, that's what was going on. So Hard Hitters Day, most of the years was pretty much of a success. No problems, except 1 year we had an issue. So what ended up happening 1 year is it was a crew, and I'm not going to say their name in this episode. I'm not going to go there. All I would just say is it was a crew that was pretty much from Decatur that Mike, who actually joined Hard Hitters as a producer and an artist, he was very cool with this crew. And I was cool with one of the guys in the crew myself as well, but he was cool with the whole crew, Mike. So he invited them over to Hard Hitters Day, and they was over there hanging with us. And just so happened, I didn't know they had a beef in the street with another crew. I didn't know this. And really the rest of Hard Hitters didn't know. So what ended up happening, like we're literally hanging outside in the street Getting ready to shut Hard Hitters Day down. This is one of the Hard Hitters Days. This wasn't every Hard Hitters Day. It was only 1 year. Most of the Hard Hitters Days was good. This is the only one. We're about to get ready to shut Hard Hitters Day down. We actually about to get ready to go to Buckhead, matter of fact. We ready to get in the cars, go to Buckhead. Back then, Buckhead had the strip and stuff like that. So even if you wasn't of age to get into certain bars and stuff, you could just still go and walk the strip back then. If you from the old Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. So pretty much, we about to get ready to go to Buckhead. And just so happened, this car is coming up my street that I grew up off of. And they are almost at the top of the hill. And we all looking up the hill and we see a beam coming out the back window. So next thing you know, one of my homies yelled, "Get down." Everybody jumped to the ground behind their cars. Literally about 2 to 3 seconds later, rounds let off. Pow, 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 pow. Everybody jumping below their cars and jumping down behind their cars. Next thing you know, one of my homies was a few houses up, heard the gunshots. He got down too, but he had his strap. We'll say he had his thing on him, his blicky on him, whatever you want to call it these days. He let off some rounds back, and that's what made them skirt off. Now, once they skirt off, everybody gets up, the smoke clears. My homie Sean, who I told you about, Tonyo, who went to FAMU with me, who became part of the Hard Hitters, is yelling. And the first person name he yelled was mine. "Gee, I got it." So next thing you know, I'm going to go grab him. My homie Juice come and help me as well. We throw him in the back seat of the car I had at that time. We hop in the car. We speeding towards Glenwood Road. Because like I say, we stayed off Glenwood. So we mashing the gas all the way to get to Glenwood. But while we mashing the gas, my man Sean on the back seat holding my shirt of my arm. Holding on to me, trying to hold on. And my boy Juice, he called him Cal Medical. He called 911 to Cal Medical. And so they asking where we are. We turned on Glenwood. We going down Glenwood. We get to Glenwood and Columbia Drive, which is in Decatur. I don't know if you know what that is or not. If you're from Atlanta or Decatur, you may know what that is. But we actually get to Glenwood and Columbia Drive, get to a gas station. The ambulance meets us in the gas station, pulls him out my car, takes him to the hospital. So pretty much, me and my homie Juice actually checked up on Tonyo pretty much throughout the night, made sure he was good. And then the next day, I actually spoke with Tonyo's mom, and pretty much she invited me over, and I went over. As soon as I walked in the house, she actually gave me a hug and thanked me for getting him to hospital in a timely manner. And she said pretty much it was a blessing in terms of, you know, the way that things went, because it could have been worse. Because she was saying if the bullet pretty much would have been moved over a little bit more in terms of his spinal cord, because he actually got hit in the neck, say he could have potentially been paralyzed. But that didn't happen. So he was blessed. And so I walked into the other room, saw him in the neck brace, and pretty much he recovered over time and actually went on to become a FAMU drum major and doing some big things still to this day. I could tell you this though. After that happened, I literally was like, I don't know if I want to continue in this music business. Like, one of my close friends going through that, and I'm seeing it right there in front of my eyes. I'm like, I don't know about this. I literally had to take some time out from the business. I eventually returned because there was a lot of people wanting to see me return. And it was a lot of other people, a part of Hard Hitters, that was depending on me to help us get us to where we need to be as the leader. So I did return. I'm going to tell you this, though. What ended up happening, is around 2007. This is my third year at FAM, spring semester. I actually did a performance in the band with Prince. Rest in peace, Prince. It was actually in the Super Bowl. Still on YouTube to this day. FAMU performs with Prince at the Super Bowl. And I can tell you that was my last performance with the Marching 100. It's one that I will always remember. And after that performance, I decided that I was going to really take my talents back to Georgia because of the fact that I felt living in Tallahassee, which is where FAMU is. It's 3 colleges there. It's FAMU, Florida State, Tallahassee Community College. Really like during the springtime in Tallahassee, it wasn't a whole lot going on outside of doing your schoolwork. So I used to find myself going back to Atlanta all the time, attempting to do things in terms of the entertainment business. Another thing as well, I was just taking a lot of music classes at FAMU. That's actually what I was majoring in. I actually wanted to do music production and music business, and they didn't have it at that time at FAM. So that was another thing. And so with that being said, I decided to actually come back to Georgia and go to Georgia State University, where I actually decided to take up business administration with a concentration in marketing at Georgia State. Now, I can tell you this, I would have took that up at FAMU as well. FAMU just had some very high requirements when I was attempting to get in there that Georgia State accepted me in. So that's why I ended up transferring back to Georgia and going to Georgia State. Now, I say this, summer 07, me, Mike, Tonio, Don K, LB, we were still doing shows and doing music. Around the fall of 07 is actually when I started school as well at Georgia State. I decided I was going to be going even harder with the music and the business of music because, of course, I'm back in Georgia now, so I can go harder. Now, Tonio was still going to FAMU. He wasn't going to be able to be up here to actually go as hard with us, so he kind of, decided to go that route just to pretty much be drum major at FAMU and go to school down there. And so it ended up being me, Mike at that time, Don K, LB. Now, Mike started to get a little impatient, felt like money wasn't coming in as fast. So he decided to go to the Navy. Now, I can tell you what ended up happening because Mike actually was our producer. What ended up happening was one of my freshman brothers, we call them freshman brothers and freshman sisters if you came into the Marching 100 in the same year in terms of the band. So Jay West was one of my freshman brothers. He came into FAMU's band with me in 2004. And so he actually moved here to Georgia. He wanted to go to the Art Institute of Atlanta and take up music production and engineering. So what ended up happening was he actually ended up hitting me up and said, "Hey, G, man, I'd love to come over there and work with you at Hard Hitters." I was like, bet, sound like the move. So pretty much what I was doing in the beginning stages of, like I say, going to Georgia State and shifting a little bit of what was going on in terms of our business and who was involved and stuff like that. I actually was going to Georgia State full time, and then I got me a part-time job working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution selling newspapers here in Atlanta. And my mom actually put me on that. My mom had sold the Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper for over 20 years, was a top producer at it. And I believe like that's why I get a lot of my background in terms of being great at sales and building businesses and stuff, because my mom has a real big sales background. So I watched that for many years growing up. And so, like I said, my mom put me on. Now, I wasn't doing the same thing my mom was doing. My mom actually did telemarketing for several years, right, which is primarily cold calling. I actually had to go out to stores, like retail stores, and actually set up a kiosk. So people would be coming into different retail stores to come to shop, to buy whatever they was buying, whether it was clothes or groceries in some stores, whatever it was. And I would have to literally stop them in their tracks, get their attention, and get them to hear me out in terms of my pitch on why they should potentially look at signing up for a Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper subscription. I was doing this while I was in college. And I can tell you this, I wasn't a top producer. I would make sales, but I wasn't like a top producer with it at that time. I was still getting my feet wet in terms of like really doing sales. And so I did that for a while, and I still was doing the music as well during this time. Okay. Now, after a while, I actually stopped doing Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and pretty much the next gig I picked up was actually working at Turner Field, which is where the Atlanta Braves baseball team actually used to play at here in Atlanta. So I ended up working with them. And I was still going to Georgia State full time, still doing music. And I actually ended up getting Jay West, who's our producer, on working with me as well at Turner Field, so he could bring more income in too. And so pretty much that's what we was doing. Outside of going to school and working our part-time job, we was locked in the studio doing music. At times during the week to weekends, we'll lock in all weekend doing music, recording. Came to a point we did get a couple of songs that ended up getting pushed here in Atlanta, and even ended up getting one of my homeboys I grew up with in Decatur named Smurf actually ended up getting behind a couple of those records too in terms of promoting them, because he was a well-known promoter and still is a well-known promoter. And not only that, he's now a club owner here in Atlanta. So he actually got behind a couple of our records. But I did music at that time with some artists that were known. I had music with, for one, Young Capone, which is Rah Rah. I had music as well with a guy named Montana the Mac. He's actually as well from around my way, off Glenwood Road. I had music as well with one of my homegirls, went to high school with, named Q the Queen, doing some big things as well. We did music with her. One of my homies named John Jizzle as well, went to high school with me. I'm talking about in terms of features outside of Hard Hitters. These are some of the people did music with. And there's many more. Young Bree, I don't want to forget nobody. There's a lot of people. My homie Dre. There's a lot of people we did music with coming up at that time. And pretty much, like, when it came to, like I say, doing this music and starting to actually get the music out there, of course, as well, we started to get more shows. And a lot of the shows we started to get were actually with well-known artists here in the city. So I started like opening up. And a lot of this too was because of my homie Smurf. Because, of course, like I say, Smurf got behind some of our music. So, we would open up for artists like Tracy T, which is, I've been knowing Tracy for a very long time. We actually used to call him Lil Tracy back in the Golden Glide days here in Decatur. And so, yeah, like we opened up for him because he had a big record called Swagger Right Check at the time. We opened up for Young Ralph, Gorilla Zoe. Just thinking in my head, it's a lot of different people that we had actually opened up for and just did some big shows for at that time. So like I said, we just started to get more exposure. And really, like from there, what ended up happening, because I was doing my thing heavy with hard hitters, of course, still supporting Young Capone, the MP. But it's some personal situations that occurred with the whole MP situation that I won't go too in detail on this episode about. But I had to literally just, step away at that time in terms of business and stuff and just really focus in on hard hitters. And so that's pretty much what I ended up doing. And from there, what ended up happening while I actually was at Georgia State is I pretty much for years, I can tell you this, I had my bro Bree telling me for years, hey, Gerald, I think you should get into club promotions. I think you should get into club promotions because he said, for one, it'll create another revenue stream for the company. Also, as well, though, if you get into club promotions and you're hiring the DJs to DJ for the party, now you have more control of what DJs play. They can play more hard hitters music. On top of that, you can control when hard hitters performs and whoever else you want to come through and perform. So he used to tell me this for years, but I didn't want to really get off of doing the music. I didn't want to lose focus. I could say this, though, when I got to Georgia State, my guy Smurf came to me with a proposal in terms of like, hey, I'm actually going to be throwing this party on Thanksgiving Day at an adult club here in Georgia called Candy Shop at the time. He said, I'm going to put a lot of artists on it. We're going to pack it out. If you want in on it, it's going to be an investment, though, and I give you a percentage of the dough. So I'm going to tell you this. I'm in my computer information systems class at Georgia State, which is a lot of business people in this class. It's a guy named Steven. I'll never forget. I'm on the computer, and I'm on MySpace. In the middle of class, this is back when MySpace was popping. All these other social media platforms weren't popping like that back then. It's MySpace days. I'm on MySpace, and my guy Steven, he's like looking over at my computer, and he sees all this stuff that I have on my MySpace page in reference to what we was doing with hard hitters. So he asked me what did I have going on? And so I told him. And then I told him as well, I potentially had an opportunity in reference to being able to get in on a party. I was going to take an investment, but, potentially see a certain type return on it. And so he said, let's talk this evening, man. He gave me his number. And he got my number, and we talked that evening. I told him the details, and he said, I want in. So pretty much the next day, he meets me downtown, Atlanta, go to Bank of America, grabs the money, in terms of his part, gives it to me. I call Smurf. I say, hey, want in on that party at the candy shop. So I take Smurf the money. We in. We press up like 5,000 flyers for this thing. We go to promoting around the city and putting it all over social media, inviting our people out, all this type of stuff. I'm going to tell you this. That party flopped. That party flopped. Yep, it flopped. Lost the money. Lost the money. So I had to go work extra hours, my little part-time gig, get my man Steven back his money. And I did. But it flopped, though. And what ended up happening, though, even after that, Smurf wanted to still involve me though. He was like, man, all right, that flopped, but we can still do something else together. And Smurf, I'm gonna tell you this, he had big parties in the city. So it was unusual at times to see any of his parties flop. But that was just one that just didn't do well. There's a lot of factors that cause parties at times not to do well. I learned that over the years. I mean, it's a lot of different things. It could be it's a lot of parties going on that night in terms of Thanksgiving. So it's a lot of competition. Sometimes it's the weather, right? If the weather's not as good. It's just a lot of different things that at times can cause parties not to be as big. And like I said, I learned it over the years. But what ended up happening after that, though, Smurf decided, he said, well, gee, you did go hard with me on this party, though, so let me see if I can put you on something else we can make some money. So he introduced me to Scores. Scores is actually a sports bar in Decatur, Georgia, some years ago on the street named Wesley Chapel Road. And he said, man, I'll put you on weekly Thursdays with me. Promoted every Thursday. We're going to call it, if I can recall, it was $3 Thirsty Thursdays at that time. And he was like, let's do this weekly. Let's promote it weekly. And it's an opportunity to make money weekly, get your music out weekly, build your network, the whole nine. I'm like, all right, cool. So anyway, we started to do it. And I'm going to tell you this. It was months. We wasn't really making any profit out the expenses of doing this. And I was still doing music, by the way. Still going to school, still working this part-time job at Turner Field. But it was like months we weren't making no money in terms of profit. After expenses was taken care of with the club. So I'm going to tell you this. Eventually, I said, you know what? I'm done with this club promotions thing. I'm just going to focus in on music. I'm going to focus in on music. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Some months went by. Smurf gave me a call. He said, G, I know you decided to stop doing club promotion, but I got another opportunity for us. This time, let's do an artist showcase. Let's not just do it like a $3 Thirsty Thursday. We're still Thursday night, though. And let me tell you this. At this time, Smurf had one of the biggest Saturday night parties on the east side in terms of Decatur. And it was at Scores. So Smurf was documented for throwing big parties. It was just getting this Thursday party to work for some reason. And so what ended up happening was I said, all right, artist showcase. Okay. Let me see what we can put together. Just so happened, though, the week before, Smurf called me about doing an artist showcase on Thursdays at Scores, and Thursdays on Scores. I had just went to an artist showcase that my guy named DJ Knight actually had through at this club called Shish Kebab. And it actually used to be in the Stonecrest area, Stonecrest Mall area here in Stonecrest, Georgia. And his showcase was packed. This was like a week before Smurf called me. So what I ended up doing is I called Knight. And I said, man, I got an opportunity for us to do a weekly showcase at Scores. I bring you in on it. You get a percentage as well. We just got to get the artists out, pack it out every week. So long story short, I brought Knight on. Literally the first week we did numbers. I'm talking about first week, like 300 people in the building. First week. And then pretty much from there, week by week, that thing just started to pretty much grow and build, right? And it was me, DJ Knight, and Smurf. Smurf had a lot of other things going on, though, so like me and Knight pretty much was like a whole lot of manpower behind that night. We had a lot of celebrities starting to come through on Thursdays, and it just started to get bigger and bigger. And then pretty much from there, that led to me doing other parties. So I ended up actually getting us a Saturday night here in Georgia. And this part of Georgia was actually like still the east side. It was a club called Club Secrets. I was actually doing that on Saturdays, and that was actually Hard Hitters, my company by ourselves. We did some parties where we didn't even have big artists, and we did a lot of parties where we did have big artists. this actually was the venue where, they deemed me as one of the first promoters to actually do a big show with Future on the East Side. It was actually at Secrets. The show is still on the internet to this day. I did parties with 2 Chainz. We did an event called a Ladies Takeover, where we had like artists, rest in peace, Gangsta Boo. Gangsta Boo performed on that show. We had Kaya come out, who's a big female artist as well. Mac Breezy, real big as well. Coco Kiss. There's another artist named Coco Brown out of Florida too. Q the Queen. We had a lot of females perform on that show. It went big, right? We had FLY come through Secrets. Shouted Low, rest in peace, came through as well. And it actually was me and my guy, Lil Bankhead, who's actually a radio personality, View 103 in Atlanta. Me and him hosted the parties every single week together. So I learned a lot from him as well when it came to hosting and MCing parties. Of course, I had my Hard Hitters crew performing on shows at that time. And at that time, we pretty much had artists such as J Hot actually had signed with Hard Hitters. There's an artist named J Hot. Another artist I had named Klepto Montana. Don K was signed to Hard Hitters as well. We had Zay-T and Chad McClain. And then one of my great friends, you've seen on the Rise of 1% podcast, Calvin Lunsford, he had his thing going on in the entertainment business as well, and his own company, and his name was Player C. And me and him did a lot of music together, and he did a lot of music as well with Hard Hitters. I was actually in the process of bringing him on board of Hard Hitters as well. So we did a whole lot together. And from there, I went on to do parties at like Echelon 3000 as well. A lot of big parties there. Through there, we brought Future as well, 2 Chainz, Floyd Mayweather, Yo Gotti, Waka Flocka Flame, Travis Porter. We did Rocco there, Toya Carter. We even brought R. Kelly through there. Like Too Short. We had some of everybody come through Echelon 3000. And that's actually as well what helped take our brand to a whole nother level. And the person who I linked up with to do those big parties was my big brother, Travis Easy Harris. Right? So we was doing like a lot of big parties at like Echelon 3000, Club Obsessions, to even different like lounges here in the city, to even some of the adult clubs. I did parties with Smurf and Easy. So that's pretty much what was going on in the entertainment business. I was fortunate enough to make a great lifestyle out of that business for some years, met a lot of people, built a huge network, built a name, built a brand around what we was doing. And pretty much around 2011, I took a huge decline in my income though, after all this success for many years due to the economy. And so around that time, was a guy who I actually knew from the entertainment business, by the way. He actually introduced me to the network marketing industry. So I got into the network marketing industry. This is actually around the end of 2011. It was a telecom and energy company. First few months, I barely did anything in the business because I wasn't taking it as serious, because I was still doing the entertainment business when I got into network marketing. So I wasn't taking it very serious, but I actually got to a national conference January 2012 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And when I got there, I got to see it was other people like myself, similar backgrounds, who were winning. Some of these people were making like doctor type income every 30 days. Some of these people. And they, not only that, it was changing a lot of people's lives, helping a lot of people. I was hearing so many success stories. in terms of people's lives just changing for being a part of this opportunity. So I left out of that conference with my hair on fire and went to work in terms of this direct sales telecom and energy company. And I was fortunate enough to, for one, sign up a lot of customers. But not only that, I built a team. I built a very big team in this company. And long story short, after I got serious about the business, literally around about 8 months later or so, I was actually at one of the top positions in the compensation plan, which was national director. I had a team of 323 people. And we was getting paid on like literally around about 1,600 or so residual paying customers on the services at that time. So we did that opportunity for about 3 years strong. Around the third year though, the momentum started to go down in the company. And so what ended up happening, we ended up transitioning over to another company, which was in the travel industry. And long story short, pretty much with my experience being in the telecom and energy companies, which was a direct sales company for 3 years and being successful over there and helping a lot of other people become successful in that company as well. When I got into the travel business, I just took a lot of my skill sets that I actually learned from the first company and I applied them to the travel company. And literally in 70 days, I was ranked amongst the top 5% of income earners in the entire company. Not only that as well, one of my best friends as well, Calvin Lunsford, like I said, you heard him on one of the other Rise 1% podcast episodes. He actually became ranked amongst the top 5% of income earners as well. And we had tons of people within the group ranked amongst the top 10% of income earners. This is like 70 days in. So we having all this success and momentum and booking a lot of travel, starting to take some trips and things of that nature. And then after being in that business for a couple of years, I actually went to the position of diamond, which would put me ranked amongst the top 3% of income earners in the company. And that came from me just helping a lot of other people make a lot of money, and people was walking off their job, going full time. I know as well, Calvin, he took a lot of the income he made as well out of that travel business to go on to start even his print company. And like I say, a lot of other people as well, just having a lot of success within the business at that time. And so pretty much part of how I was able to have some of the success I had in the first company and also a lot of success in the travel company was because I actually invested in a coach to learn the skill sets of digital marketing. So a lot of the strategies I learned with that was applied in the last days of the telecom and energy company I was doing marketing and sales for. And definitely it played a huge role in the travel company that I actually was doing marketing and sales for and building teams and training them up and things of that nature. So what ended up happening, the travel company actually started to go downhill. And I decided not to really go over to another network marketing direct sales company. I said, you know what? I want to look at potentially starting something of my own. Now, I can tell you this. So pretty much while I was doing the travel company, I actually decided to do this conference call every single week where I would interview entrepreneurs that I felt was rising into the top 1% or that were already there. And so when I decided that, hey, I want to start some of my own, I said, you know what, instead of just having this conference call, why not just create a full-fledged company around the concept of the rise of the 1%? Leverage, though, the fact that I can actually help a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, especially African-American, rise to the top 1% using the different digital marketing skill sets that I had learned over time and became great at. And so what ended up happening was ended up launching the Rise of the 1% community in October of 2016. And it started off as a membership site. It was a membership site. So pretty much it was a site where entrepreneurs and business owners that want to get better at online marketing, getting more clients for their business, they can sign up. And I already had some pre-recorded course content in the members area. And also we would do weekly group coaching calls. So that's pretty much what it started off as. And when we first launched it, we actually did a launch event as well, like here in Atlanta. It was downtown Atlanta at this hotel that had a rooftop. Went real well. A lot of people came out. And it was a big deal, definitely, of course, in the launch. That's how launches are supposed to be. And so pretty much we actually ran with that for a while. And what ended up happening to be able to evolve our business model, I actually ended up going out. And this was in the first year of us actually operating as a company, by the way. I actually ended up going out to a conference in Irvine, California. And I actually had one of my coaching students go out there with me as well. And I met a guy at that time who was coaching me and one of his other coaching students. We met up out there and we went to this conference. It was around internet marketing. I used to go to a lot of internet marketing conferences in the beginning stages. If you want to get great in any skill set, you got to be at events and conferences to learn more about how to get better at your skill set. And a lot of times, too, it's not what just takes place in the room at those conferences. It's what takes place outside. Because what I can tell you is the first night we got to Irvine, California, me, the person that was my coach at the time, one of his coaching students, one of my coaching students, we sat outside around a fireplace and we masterminded. And at that time, my coach at that time was asking me some questions in reference to our business model and how we was operating it. And so he was saying, yo, Gerald, you all are delivering a ton of value. You getting some client results. We was getting testimonials, things of that nature. He was really enjoying the community, referring people, all kind of stuff. And so he said, I believe though, because we had like a monthly subscription model. He said, I believe you all can be charging a lot more, like more higher ticket, and even have more of a one-off type model. And so at first I was like, wow. So new way to look at things at that time. And so what I ended up doing is, of course, we went to all the different events in terms of the internet marketing conference that weekend, went to all the trainings and stuff. And then after that, I came back to Atlanta and I literally implemented what he said the first week. And that first week, boom, closed the high ticket deal. First week. And like I said, this was years ago. And from there, it just raised my belief in terms of I knew what I had to offer and I knew the value that I provided. And you have to know how to charge based off of your worth. And not only that, the transformation and the result that your client is actually going to get over the lifetime by you helping them solve the problem. And so from there, things just went up. And we actually cleared over 6 figures the first year. And after pretty much running with that business model for a little over a year or so, what we came to find out was at that time, a lot of our clients did want more of a done for you type of option. And so what we ended up doing, and this what we ended up doing for about 3 to 4 years or so, we ended up transitioning our business model more into a digital marketing agency where pretty much at that time, our company was building out sales funnels for many of our clients. We was helping them set up paid advertising campaigns like on Facebook and Instagram at that time. We was helping them set them up, run them, manage the campaigns to generate leads and get clients. And we've gotten several testimonials that's on our website from actually helping clients do that. And like I said, we did it for years. And then after doing that for some years, and me having several coaches over the years too, just continue to learn and grow. And also I joined like a high-end mastermind as well in 2021. That was a huge investment, very uncomfortable investment, but it was one of the best investments I've made, I'd say, in my business career. Changed a whole lot in terms of me, in terms of my growth, and not only that, my business, to even working with my team, the clients, helping them get better results, the whole nine. I could tell you this though, like I said, after running with that model of the funnels and setting up and running and managing the ads for some years, we then transitioned back into more of a done with you model for a while. Well, pretty much our clients did some of the work and we did some of the work in terms of helping our clients grow, scale their businesses without having to spend money on paid advertising. Okay. Now in 2024, we're back at mostly a done for you model right now, where pretty much we work with a lot of our clients with, for one, getting crystal clear on their ideal clients that they actually want for their business, making sure that their offers are all the way solidified, helping them with their sales process, and then pretty much helping them put together a lead generation and client acquisition system that's pretty much automated on platforms such as like LinkedIn and Facebook this year in 2024. And it's more done for you, for our clients in terms of the lead gen and client acquisition system. And also as well, we're now helping our clients build out their sales teams, whether that's hiring up training appointment setters, hiring up training closers, and account executives for their business. So it's more of a done for you type of business model right now. And so, over the years, with the rise of 1%, now we've been in business 7 years now. We've created and helped create tons of success stories amongst Black entrepreneurs that have coaching businesses, consulting businesses, online courses, and service-based businesses. And yeah, we on a mission to create $1 billion in success stories over the next 3 years or less. That's why we do what we do. That's why we do what we do. And so with that said, I'm pretty much about the end of this particular episode. It's a lot more to come in terms of this entrepreneurial journey. I hope you got some takeaways out of this yourself. And one of the things I'll share with you that you should have got out of this is that if you look at my entire entrepreneurial journey, it has not been smooth sailing. A lot of different obstacles and challenges. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about their obstacles and challenges these days online. Everybody like to just showcase their highlight reels. Everybody lives the perfect life. So I wanted to be more of an open book in this episode and really share the journey, what it's been like, the downs, the ups, everything. And you will also see, if you really listen to this episode, even if you have to go back and listen to it again, I've always had a big passion for entrepreneurship and business. It's not even so much even just about making money for me. It's always been a bigger purpose for what I do. And that's what you have to do as well. If you're just driven by money and the materialistic things that can come in terms of being successful as an entrepreneur, and you just are looking at this from what you may see on social media from certain entrepreneurs just showing the highlights of their lives, and you basing, if you're going to really go at this thing full steam and really make this a career for you for many years to come, you're going to have to understand that, especially if you're in the beginning stages, you got to have real reasons why you're doing what you're doing. Because how I've been able to overcome all those things that you heard along this journey, it's because my why has always been big. I have a lot of personal reasons why, to even business reasons why. You got to have a strong mission as well, vision. You got to establish certain core values. It's a lot that comes at really pursuing the entrepreneurial journey for many years. Because everybody is not equipped to be an entrepreneur. And everybody doesn't make it when it comes to entrepreneurship either. It's the ones who really have, like I say, real crystal clear vision. They have a mission. They're really setting out for. They have the ability to see things materializing and become realities before they even happen. And they have the faith each and every day to continue to pursue towards it, even through the downs and even the ups. You got a high power, you got to keep them first. Mine is God. Keeping God first. And you got to work hard. And you can't quit. You got to keep pushing. You do that, it's eventually going to happen for you. With that said, like I said, I hope you got a lot out of this. Then you got a lot of value out of this. Make sure you hit that like button on YouTube. Bang that subscribe button. Drop in your biggest takeaways in the comment section. Any of your biggest takeaways in the comment section, drop them below. Also, feel free to share this around with anyone else you feel could benefit. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, if you haven't went over to Apple or Spotify, we're the Rise of the 1% on Apple or Spotify. You can look up the podcast on Apple or Spotify if you like to listen to audios. I don't know if you want to listen to it while you riding in your car or at times when you're working out or whatever the case may be. You can listen to the audios, Apple or Spotify. Just look up the Rise of the 1% over there. Our episodes are in the audio format over there as well if you like to listen to audios. If you listen to this episode, you got a lot of value out of it. Drop us a review. Also give us a 5-star rating. We definitely appreciate it. And with that said, until next time, this is GBass for the Rise of 1%. Have a phenomenal day on purpose. Before we close this episode, I actually want to go back to a part of the episode where I talked about when I decided to go full-fledged with my company at the time, Hard Hitters Productions, Inc., and I decided going forward at that time, I wasn't going to be around MP as much at that time due to some personal and business situations. Now, I must say, as I did move forward, I was doing my thing with Hard Hitters, and Raw was actually doing his thing as an artist in terms of going by Young Capone and also doing his thing with MP to eventually going by the name Raw Raw to Dope Boy Raw. And I must say as well, over those years in the entertainment business, it was still some of the people at MP that were just like family to me. And to this day, some of MP is still just like family to me. And even over those years as well, me and Raw did talk from time to time. Now, we didn't talk as much as we did in the past. We did talk from time to time, though. Now, at the end of 2019, Raw, his grandma Dot, actually passed away. And it was actually getting ready to go into the new year. And so I remember on New Year's Eve, me and some friends actually decided we was actually going to step out to a club in Marietta, Georgia called Tiger. And that club now is actually owned by one of my homies, Smurf. He recently actually just changed the name of it. At this time, though, Smurf was actually a club promoter at Tiger. So I actually reserved a VIP section and bottle service through Smurf for that night. And so we actually get to the club that night. We go in, we go to the section, and at the section, Smurf actually had on the table reserved for G Money, that was my name when I was in the entertainment business. Now, the section right next to me said reserved for Raw Raw. And so I said, okay, Raw gonna be here tonight. And so some hours later, Raw actually walked in through the doors, and he walked in with his family because they actually was stepping out because his grandma had just passed. and they had a section and bottle service as well. And so he was walking to his section. He saw me and he walked up to me. He actually shook my hand, gave me a homeboy hug, and he actually told me to take his new number. And he said, let's be in touch. And so what ended up happening was the next year actually came, which was 2020, and the pandemic actually hit. And over the next few years, Ra had actually went through some personal situations. And unfortunately, last year in 2023, Ra actually passed away. And so I wanted to take this time to actually say rest in peace to Ra. I actually grew up with Ra in the same neighborhood. We actually went to the same school. We traveled together as kids. He was a friend to me growing up, like a brother to me growing up. And we actually got into the entertainment business with each other. He inspired me a lot in the entertainment business. I learned things from Ra, and I know he's inspired. He helped a lot of other people in the entertainment business as well. So I want to take this time to say rest in peace to Ra, and my prayers and condolences to the Smith family.